Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. I was waiting for the bumper for some reason.
Oh yeah, we have one that does that. I should have clicked that one, but
Good
um,
job, Taylor.
yeah,
It's
you
okay.
know, we were talking about this in September when we were kind of getting event calendar stuff together, but and I haven't worked on it yet, but I haven't forgot. I think New Year, new ed tech countdown is in order at some point. So
That's right. That would
watch
be
out for
great.
that. I know we have some fans of specifically the countdown, maybe not the rest of the stream or video content, but you know.
Honestly, that's what pulled me in.
What would be the theme for the new for the new bumper?
Well, we had talked about going a little bit more like cinema, right?
I mean, yeah.
So we may do that. I may be writing checks my video editing skills can't cash, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
This
Cool.
stream is a workshop. Is where we're gonna workshop the new bumper. False advertising.
Yeah. Gotta get hype. We gotta get investment. We have to raise funds to get this together.
Yeah, for all our venture capitalists out there in the community.
Yep. Yeah. Well, yeah. I've got that Final Cut Pro license I bought like 9 years ago. We need to pay that back. It's time. So, cool. Well, what are we here for today?
Today we're gonna check out the Hedgedoc installer that you've been working on, Taylor. Get that wrapped up, and then look ahead to our Flex course that's coming up. Not next week, but the week after, called Open Publishing Ecosystems. I know that this week has been, for anybody who's been paying attention, has been really heavy on the open publishing ecosystems. Kind of, I hate to call it propaganda, but also it is propaganda because we're trying to lure you all in.
We're propagandizing something that is free. You can choose to go to. We're not selling you anything. So is it the most harmful propaganda in the world? I think not.
I don't know. It is a lifestyle. So just fair warning, because once you go open publishing, once you go open publishing, you don't go back. Essentially, I'm sure you've all heard this, but just for the sake of this stream, I will just, the open publishing ecosystems is really to help everybody get a sense of what's out there for open publishing, what you can do, what you can use for it. And we're going to be talking to some experts, really the people who have either developed or have had a key hand in developing the tools that we're going to be working with. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And essentially today, what we want to do is just get ourselves prepared as possible for it to start, so that we can just dive right into the content, as opposed to, we don't want this Flex course to be talking, demoing how to get things set up. We want it to be talking about how to actually use the thing. So that's kind of what we're going to do today.
Yeah. I'll showcase how to use the installer a little bit. We kind of went, in the last stream we did on the installer a month ago or so.
Ish, yeah.
We kind of went through a lot of the technical details of how it was going to work, in terms of it'll be using Docker. And if you're familiar with Docker and you're curious about exactly what it uses, there's a whole GitHub repository. You can just look at it, or you could just install it and look at it. There's nothing secretive about it. And so today I just kind of wanted to work through, okay, well, what's the experience of using this thing? How would I set this up on Reclaim Cloud to run, your own Hedgedoc? So should we jump right in?
Let's do it.
Sweet. So I've got my Reclaim Cloud dashboard up over here, and hold on, moving windows around. All right, great. I guess before important things first. Like, how cute is Hedgedoc's logo? Like, it's ridiculous.
It's
They did a
super,
great job.
super cute.
I realized this morning that I'm pretty sure maybe not, but the face part of the hedgehog it's a heart. It also kind of reminds me of like a sharpened pencil.
A little bit, yeah. That's a good point. I wonder if they were,
You can't see the nose, but the nose is like this little black triangle. Like that's what really gets me.
yeah, got a larger version of that same image in the GitHub here. Yeah, it's I think it's the color, and yeah, the pointed tip definitely evokes pencil for me too. For
Mhm.
sure, heart shaped. I mean, hedgehogs kind of look like that, but I think they're really leaning into it. It's
Yeah.
good. It's really good. So anyway, that I just wanted to put that out there. And one thing I will mention that I'm kind of excited about to see is this is kind of an interesting time for Hedgedoc because they're about to launch their 2.0 version, which is a big redesign in like the user interface of it. So we're not going to be running that today because it's not out yet, and I'm not going to build an installer for something that's like still not stable basically. But we'll have that basically as soon as that comes out. My installer should just work, and if it doesn't, I'll fix it. But um, yeah, it's kind of interesting. They do have a demo of it up, and it's very similar. We'll explore the actual Hedgedoc interface in a little bit, but it's pretty similar to how it is now. But they've kind of simplified some tools and did some good, I think, reworking of the user interface. There'll be things that we talk about probably more in the Flex course about like how to share notes and things that I think Hedgedoc does well, but you have to like read about that are a little bit clunky if you haven't read about it. Like they have like a whole permission system that is kind of complicated, to be honest with you.
No,
So
I agree with that. This is not actually my first time seeing this this updated version. It's very slick. Wow.
yeah, they do. I think they did a great job of you'll see, but basically it does most of the same things. There's not a lot brand new here, but they do like contextual, like, oh, this link points to the editor as you currently see it kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's
And
nice.
this link is a read-only version, like things
That's
that you
really
could do
Oh, I like that.
but you had to know about.
Yeah. No, it
The other one
definitely.
is the permissions also has like a Google Docs style add individual email addresses. That is not something the current Hedgedoc version has at all. So they basically just completely simplified this whole permissions thing that we'll look at later. So I'm excited about that, and I don't know exactly when it'll come out, but their like third alpha version came out recently. So maybe before the end of the year. I don't know. Probably, if with our luck, it'll be like right after we put out our Hedgedoc video for open publishing ecosystems.
It'll be like we summoned it.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that diversion is aside. So on Reclaim Cloud, you sign in your account. You can go to Marketplace, and then Hedgedoc. Oops. You probably need to search for it. I have it favorited here, but if you search for it, it'll show up and hit install. You can give the default subdomain, the environment URL here, whatever name you want. So I'm going to call it my Hedgedoc, I guess. You can pick a region. We'll keep this one in Canada. That's fine. And install it. And so this will take a few minutes, about 3 or 4 minutes all told, to deploy. One thing to think about with these, really anything you deploy on Reclaim Cloud is, and I hid the thing. That's fine. Is where you want it to live after you've set it up, right? So you can definitely have Hedgedoc live at the ca.reclaim.cloud kind of domain name. In my case, it would be my-hedgedoc.ca.reclaim.cloud. But it's really, we really want we want to make it easy for people to map a custom domain to it as well. So I'll demo that today too. That's pretty easy to do. I think today, for simplicity's sake, I will use my cPanel, and I'll just give it a subdomain of like my-hedgedoc.jaden.me, which is the domain I have. Yeah, I'm kind of spinning my wheels here while we wait for this to deploy. I should have gone over the cute logo while we were waiting. It's been a while since we've done a new installer stream. I'm out of practice. I used to have this like off the top of my head. So. But I guess while we're waiting, and I'll bring it back up here when it's done installing.
Tier ranking of logos for installers.
Tier ranking of logos for okay. I was gonna say, what else do we like about Hedgedoc?
No,
But
that's
you know
better.
what?
We should
I'm
do
taking
that.
Nope, we're running with this because I actually have I realized here all of my favorite things, these are the ones that I made. So that's kind of how I keep track of what installers I've made. And of course I've made none of these logos. But I think for me, Hedgedoc is definitely up there at number one. I think a close second, because I love the color, is Manifold. And then for me, third is Mastodon, because I also love the color. So
yeah, I think I really like Azuracast because I really like just hexagons. Anything with hexagons in it is like a good pattern.
You ever seen the CGP Gray YouTube video, Hexagons Are the Bestagons?
No.
It's a 20-minute scientific discovery of why hexagons are objectively the best shape.
Well, they
20
are.
minutes.
It's in depth. It's
Okay.
researched. Yeah.
Great. Well, the Azuracast knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Hedgedoc and Manifold are also pretty up there for me. Definitely. I wish Jitsy's was a little bit more like it's got a lot of small details going on that are.
This is an old version of it too. I think Jitsy's logo is updated, but yeah, well, okay. It's kind of got like a
They put it transparent or something. Okay.
Well, we should move on because our Hedgedoc is ready to pull out of the oven. But before we do, Amanda, top 3 icons, go.
Okay. I will say, I mean, look at the beauty of that site archiving toolkit icon. I mean, that is stunning.
That font awesome icon that I completely just ripped. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's free to use, so.
Yeah. I would definitely say my top is Hedgedoc, which is funny because like I dislike hedgehogs. Like I have a hard line on hedgehogs, but it's really cute. It's a cute icon. They did well. That I like Mastodon, and I like Manifold because I like green. So those are my top 3.
I'll say another shout out to Omeka with the. I've always liked that they use the what is that called?
Fibonacci spiral.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. Anyway, so Hedgedoc, ready to go here. So the environment URL here, we should be able to click on it, and yep, it loads. So that's awesome. So it is working now. Unfortunately, because I dismissed the hey, we're installing thing. It also I missed the it should pop up a message when it's done that says, hey, this is done installing, and it has some information. So instead, I'm going to pull up the email because it'll get emailed to me as well, and I'll share that really quick. But yeah, you can tell I've been testing the installer a lot because I just reflexively am like closing things. But you'll get an email. It'll look something like this. It'll say, hey, Groovy, your Hedgedoc has been successfully. I don't know where this, I don't love Groovy. I didn't write Groovy.
Do you not?
I mean, it's fine. I don't know. What I want is this to rotate between things. I don't like that it always says Groovy. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I agree.
I had a picture in my mind of like what you want is when the email arrives, that's just a little gif of the word groovy spinning. It's like, that's a really odd request, Taylor.
We
but no, that makes
put
sense.
a GIF in this email, I think.
Yeah.
So
in all
anyway,
presentations.
Yeah, I think so. So the Hedgedoc URL will be here. Username, password. So this is my not admin, but this is my user password for Hedgedoc. We'll talk about also you can create additional user accounts in Hedgedoc, but you do have to use a command line tool. Hedgedoc, as of right now anyway, maybe this will change in version 2, but right now it has no admin interface. There's just the configuration you set in the text file that I'll show you in a little bit. There's this command line tool. There's other command line tools that I've never needed to use, and that's kind of it. So it's sort of bare bones, but they do a good job of setting up in such a way that I don't. We've been using Hedgedoc here now for like a year and a half, and I have not had a need to administer anything other than creating users. So, and then finally it says, hey, if you want to map a custom domain, point an A record at this IP address, because that's the IP that it has right now. So let's actually do the custom domain thing right away. So I'm going to grab that IP address. And if I didn't have it here, I could also find it at the Reclaim Cloud interface. So that would look like this. So if I go to my environment here and expand this node, the IP address is also right there. So I'm going to head back over to cPanel, and I'm going to go into my DNS zone editor. And on the domain I want to use here, jaden.me, I'm going to make a new A record. I'll paste that IP address in, and we can give it a URL here. So we'll go with my hedgedoc.jaden.me. This is just a temporary one anyway, but then I'll add an A record. Okay. Now I'm going to load this here. It's not going to work yet, but I just want to see if the DNS has been pointed. So I'm just going to test it. Okay, this is exactly what we want. So it goes somewhere, but it's broken. That's perfect. Now we need to tell Hedgedoc and Reclaim Cloud, hey, this has a new domain name now. So
you should expect people to
expect traffic from this new door we've installed. So yeah, so go to add-ons. I made 2 add-ons for Hedgedoc. We've got an update one, which does what it says. You hit the update button, it's going to update it. That's all it's going to do. It's going to restart Hedgedoc and pull the latest version using Docker, and there we go. Domain configuration is what we need, though. So it says, hey, tell me about the new domain name. Domain name should already have an A record point at this environment's IP address. We just did that. So now I just need to tell it about the domain name that I want. I just pasted it in there, hit apply. We'll wait. I was going to say a minute or like 30 seconds. You just still kind of need to wait a little bit, because what it has done is it has edited the configuration in a file that we'll look at in just a little bit. And it's restarted everything. And now the process of issuing a HTTPS cert is there. Sweet. So we're there, myhedgedoc.jaden.me. And now I can sign in with my credentials that it emailed me, that I'm pulling from that email again.
Yep.
There we go. Oh, I have this open twice. Okay. There we go. Now I'm logged in. So using the installer is as simple as that. You don't even have to map a custom domain right away. Like if you're just playing with this and want to see how it works, just keep it at a temporary URL, or the Reclaim Cloud environment URL. That'll work just fine. So we are logged in. There is the actual, like I said, the actual interface of Hedgedoc is pretty bare bones. When you sign in, you just get a list of your notes. And right now I have no notes.
No notes?
No notes. I can go in here and there's a few things. You can export all of your notes out of Hedgedoc, which is really nice. You can do that in bulk right from here. You can delete your user account.
That just pulls a bunch of markdown files for you? Or
you know what? I haven't used it. We'll find out. Okay. I don't know what it does. I suspect that's what it does, because as far as I know, there's no like way to port over to another Hedgedoc. You would need to import each file. If you have 100 it would be kind of slow, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, you can delete your user account right from here, which is interesting. That's just how that works. And you can of course sign out. So let me make a new note here. This is a test note. Hooray. There's formatting options, all kinds of stuff in here. There's multiple views, so you can just preview it. You can see this side-by-side view. You can just see the editing view. You can change to dark mode. You can
The preview view also works as like a rich text editor, I think. Or is there's a different way to?
No, as far as I know, you need to edit either
You do?
here or here. But this does work, like you can use this toolbar, and if you have this in both mode, you can kind of actually get a nice
Okay, no, that's what I'm thinking
almost
about then.
WYSIWYG style experience. Yeah, I didn't do a great job because this is all text right now, so it'd be better if I did something like this. Like, let's go find a Giphy.
Yeah, that's how I
GIF.
like to use it, is the split screen, because I like the instant gratification of seeing exactly how it would look if you were to plug it in somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. That's how I typically use it too. So let's grab the small version of this. And I could use a toolbar to do this a little bit faster and nicer. I should have maybe. But that's a good example of like, hey, this string of text should look like this.
Oh my god. I didn't know you could do that with Markdown, which is mostly on me, but that's amazing.
Yeah, so in Markdown, the difference between a link and an image is just putting this exclamation point. So if I put this is a cool GIF, that's a link. And if I put an exclamation point, it becomes a GIF, and this now is the alt text.
That's amazing. We live in a magical world.
Yeah. But the nice thing about Hedgedoc is that you don't have to know that stuff, right? You can just give it an image, or there's an image button that will spit that out for you. But also you can use this little upload button to upload your own images right into Hedgedoc, which is super handy because it'll even host them there too. You don't have to like find a publicly available image. You can just upload one right in place. And there's of course other formatting options in here, italics and bold and all the good ones. All the good formatting.
The classics.
Yeah. So that we'll go way more into how Hedgedoc works and how you might use it together with people during the Flex course in that first actual session. But this is the basics of what it looks like after you install it. So a couple things from here. If I go, I can create, of course, new documents still. I can export these as a Markdown file, as an HTML file, and as the raw HTML is a little bit different. Basically, these two are both valid HTML files, but they look different when you upload them to a server. So one of them has like styling information that makes it look nice, and one of them doesn't. It's just unstyled HTML, basically.
Okay.
There's a slide mode, so you can actually do slides in Markdown, and you can like separate. You can make a slide deck in Markdown, and you can preview them and see them in Hedgedoc, which I have not done it that way, but I want to. My next presentation, I want to do that way. You can also go through revision history, which is super cool, and you can even go through and download other versions of it, like from the past, or restore them, basically, which is really cool. Right now, we just have the one revision, but if I was looking at a doc over time, and we will in the Flex course, you can actually see how that revision history looks. So getting out of this interface for a second, if I just go back to the main domain name for it, you can see I have two notes, and that's because I actually clicked on this features thing. So if you want an overview of the features of Hedgedoc, it'll just make a new note for you and put the features documentation inside the note, which I think is kind of funny. But it's nice. It goes through a lot of things. This permissions table is particularly something that I actually end up referencing a lot because there are 6 permissions levels, and it's kind of hard to know what does what unless you reference this document. This is one of the things that they're, in my opinion, doing a good job of fixing in version 2 to try to make this simpler.
I didn't even know that was there. I wish I had, because that would probably have helped me a lot. I've had to like guess a lot when sharing. So
Yeah, I didn't know about this until a couple weeks ago. So before then, I would just like have my window and an incognito window, and I would test absolutely every single link, and I'd be like, I want limited is what I want. Yes. So this is way better. um, and there's a whole bunch of other features in here. You can oh my god, you can do Slack style emoji, apparently. That's cool. Didn't know about that. And I guess you can put metadata in markdown files in Hedgedoc. I've never really messed with that. But yeah, there's a whole breakdown of not just Hedgedoc, but kind of what's possible in markdown, which is really cool. So that's there. If I go back again to the homepage here, you can, from this interface, search for things, and that's all good. So what I want to dig into here now is a little bit more of customization of the install if you wanted to do it. So if I go back to Reclaim Cloud here and I look at this environment, if I go to the config panel to pop up my file manager and then Hedgedoc, this is where everything about your Hedgedoc install on Reclaim Cloud lives. So the database is actually like in this folder, for whatever that means. Don't go editing files in there, you'll break everything. But what I mean to say that is, if you wanted to migrate your Hedgedoc install to a different Docker host or a different environment inside of Reclaim Cloud, you would just be copying this entire folder, moving it over, and firing Docker up again. So that's kind of cool. The uploads folder is where your images go when you upload them to Hedgedoc, which I didn't actually upload one, but that's where it would go. Docker Compose, this is basically the meat of how everything works. You really shouldn't ever need to edit this, but it's there. If you were needing to do something super advanced, or you're just curious, you can look at that.
So Taylor, I didn't realize that you could upload images to Hedgedoc.
Yeah.
I thought it was just regular old linking.
No, you totally can. So if I go here, I gotta find a good sample image on my computer. Oh, I have the Hedgedoc logo right in my downloads folder. Okay, so if I hit this upload button, you can't see it because of the way I shared my screen, but I've got the browser upload thing.
Like choose the file you want.
The file chooser matic. Yes. And it did not work. Oh, it did. Wait, no, it didn't. Ooh, okay. That's a bug I need to fix. That should work. So that's good to know. But what that should do is upload your file to that uploads folder and then link it for you right away. So a good example of this, and I'll make sure this is probably going to be an easy thing to fix. But a good example would be some of our domains camp stuff has images like that. Oh no, these are all.
I think these are all GIFs on this one.
I think if I go back and find the WordPress one, this is an earlier version of that. These all have docs.reclaimed.tech URLs, which means I use the file upload tool to do it. So,
and that's good because, as easy as it is to be able to just link to an image anywhere and keep it really lightweight, having the option to upload will, give you a stable file home so that, that you're always going to be able to call it.
It's hard to solve that problem normally with Markdown, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, you can grab it from anywhere. But if that link changes at all, it will break your document, right? So you really should, especially for important things, upload your own copy of it instead
Best
of
practice.
yeah, and then it becomes complicated when you're talking about Markdown because it's like, okay, well, we're gonna make maybe like a subdomain for all of our images or a special folder on a web server somewhere, and this kind of just eliminates all of that thought. It's just like, no, just you can even drag images right into the interface too. Like I said, I'll have to fix that. I'm not sure what's up with that upload thing, but that's a bug with my installer, not Hedgedoc. Hedgedoc definitely has that functionality. So I will fix that soon. But yeah, so if I go to the interface here in Reclaim Cloud, this Docker file, this isn't really much. Basically, I just set a setting in the web server to set the upload size to be 100 megabytes as a cap. By default, it is 1 megabyte, which is ridiculous. So I wanted to make it more than that. But .env, this is your file that you can use to actually make changes to stuff in Hedgedoc. So if you go in here, there's all kinds of stuff. My database password is in here. So don't change that because that will break your database. But other stuff in here. So the domain name and email, that's what that add-on changed to set the domain name. So you could change this manually from here if you wanted to. You also could put a different email address in here. This email will only get sent to if there's a problem issuing a certificate, basically. But it's good to know that it's there. And then above this is this Hedgedoc config section. These are 5 options that in our installer I changed from the default. So I changed the ability to register via email. I turned that off because that is open to everyone by default. And I think for most people who are going to use Hedgedoc, they don't want to make a Hedgedoc and make it open to the entire world.
So for this now, you could invite people, but they couldn't just show up.
Correct. I had to create users to do it.
Okay.
And I'll show how that works in a second. But that's getting to that message in my email. It's like, you can use the manage users command. That's how you do it. You also could temporarily turn this to true, right? So you could set this to true and then
Give like a 10-minute window or something.
Yeah, stop and start your environment and then turn it off later. That's how initially with our one for Reclaim, that's how I did it. But eventually I went through and actually set up single sign-on for it. So then that wasn't necessary. But that's another thing. I'm not going to go into it because single sign-on is like a whole can of worms. But Hedgedoc supports many different types of single sign-on, which is really cool. So you could configure that as well. The default permission for a note, I have it set to private, which means literally the only thing that can happen is the person who created the note, who is signed in, they can look at it and nothing else can happen. I thought it made sense to start from most secure and then let people change it, basically. Command allow anonymous. This means that people cannot create notes anonymously without being signed in, which is a feature of Hedgedoc. But then weirdly, I have this allow anonymous edits. And what this means is if you set the permission on your note to allow anonymous people to view or edit a note, they can edit. So it's some of the configuration options in Hedgedoc are a little bit confusing because they seem like they should be overlapping, but they're not.
No, that makes sense though. I'm thinking of the way that Google Docs has anyone, you can set the permissions to anyone in the world with the link.
Yep.
Can edit this. You could set that permission if you wanted.
Well, the difference is in Google Docs, if you do that, I believe Google Docs still requires you to sign in with a Google account to edit the document.
So that
I could be wrong about that. Like you have to have a Google account to edit a document in Google Docs.
Okay.
With this option set to true, you don't have to have any account in this Hedgedoc at all to edit the doc if the person opened their document up to that level of privilege, right? So it has to be, they have to opt in. It's not going to be like that by default. If I go back to my Hedgedoc here and go to the features thing again, I suppose I could click down here too. I would have to set it all the way up to freely, which means guest write is enabled.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's configurable, and I'll show you in a second where all of these options live on the Hedgedoc website, basically. So this link will go to there, and there's many options you can set. I simply wanted to give people a list of the things that, well, not a list, this is controlling the options, but this is the things that I, Taylor, decided to change from the default, basically. And then finally, free URL. This is off by default, but it's one of my favorite features of Hedgedoc, so I enable it, which lets you make up URLs. I love this. So if I go to my Hedgedoc instance here, and I just make up a title of a note as a URL. So I'll go like, another neato note. That's a note now, as long as I start writing in it.
Yeah, I love that.
And I really like that because you get this nice clean URL, right? Especially if it lives at your domain, like super neat. So that is a feature that I enable by default too, but if for some reason you don't want that capability, you could turn it off. The trick with this is it's, you like made it by visiting it, right? So I think the reason why they have that off is if you allow people to anonymously create notes without an account and have this feature on, bots could make like hundreds of thousands of notes instantly. So I think that's why they have it off by default. But I have it set so that by default you can't make a note unless you're signed in. So it's just a different choice, basically. Finally, go into this URL here. This will go through, this is Hedgedoc's configuration page. This thing is kind of huge and looks a little bit scary, but it's not. And I wanted to show how you would use it, or I want to prove why it's not that scary. So basically every single option you can change is here. There are some things like this Node.js thing. This is not going to be relevant for us because we're running in a Docker container. So Node is set up basically already for us. But all of these are changeable. So I'll have, hey, if you're using a config file, this is how you do it. If you're using an environment variable, this is how you do it. Here's the default value and an example of changing it. And here's a description of what it does. We are using Docker in that .env file, so we will be looking at this environment column. So basically, if I wanted to do something like change, I don't know. I could allow iframing a document by taking this and option and putting it in my thing. I want to find something a little bit more fun, though. Maybe not.
PDF embed?
Ooh, discuss is interesting. We probably won't go through and set this. Is there a PDF option?
If you control F, there's PDF embeds.
Disables to allow embedding PDFs. Disallow.
So
okay.
If you set it to true, then you can embed.
Oh, interesting.
PDFs.
Okay, so yeah, let's say we wanted to allow that. So I could copy this, go over to my env file, make a new line, paste it in, do equals, and then true, because I think it's true. Yeah, the options should be true or false. It is actually on by default. So out of the box is true. So this is maybe not the best example. But discuss could be another one. So maybe you want to use Discuss as a commenting platform. I actually use it on my blog. So at the bottom of the blog post, Discuss is doing this comment section here. Apparently, you can use Discuss comments in Hedgedoc, which is really interesting.
Makes a lot of sense. I have always pronounced it discus in my head.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense. It's a fully different thing when you pronounce it that way, but okay, discuss.
So I'm sure there's more setup that's necessary for Discuss because you probably have to like attach an account or something. And I don't know what we have to do. But let's say we made these two options. So we said, cool, I want to make sure we're allowing PDF embeds and I want to make sure that we're turning on Discuss. So I'm going to save the file. and
Also,
then I can just restart it. What's up?
I was gonna say that I stand with Amanda. I have also always pronounced it discus in my head.
Yeah, it's maybe not the best of those
It's the
kind of
spelling. It's this.
kind
It
of
looks like the word
Silicon
discus.
Valley, like, oh, look
Yeah.
at it, it evokes a word. It's like, it kind of does it evoke the word you think it does? So you
Well,
can literally just stop and start the environment, or we can use the terminal to restart it. Either should work just fine. I could also go to my add-on and just hit the update button, because that also will restart it. So after doing any one of those three things, honestly, most of the time I usually just stop and restart. That will apply the new changes. One thing I do want to note on restarting, and this is just a weird Docker thing, but hitting this restart nodes will not apply changes you made to the file, basically. And that's, I don't want to go into why, but it won't. It's not a Reclaim Cloud thing. It's a way Docker works thing. But basically, when you do this, it's going to sort of restart the state of things as they existed before. Whereas when we do a stop and start, it's going to actually reread the configuration file and say, "Oh, there's new things. I gotta change it." So that's why I say to hit this stop button and then start again.
Okay.
So once you do that, I can reload Hedgedoc. Oh yeah, this is the old URL. This isn't going to work anymore. I need to go to my new one. And so if I sign back in, which I gotta grab that password from my email again. I haven't saved it yet. There we go. So I'm back in. Things are working. I don't know about the PDF embed thing because of the upload feature not working. And discuss, I'm sure there would be more involved to get that working. So it says enable to allow users to add discuss comments to their notes or presentations. Interesting. Yeah, that's super cool. But I don't want to play with. We'll have to figure that out another time. Like, I don't really want to like go through that whole setup, but that's the basics of how you would change options in here. You would look at any of these and grab the environment variable, which is usually in this format of all uppercase separated by underscores. So yeah. Finally, how to manage users. So I mentioned already that we don't, by default, the user registration is off. And um, this is especially important because Hedgedoc doesn't actually send any email. At all. So when it says email registration, the way that works is when you go to register for a new account, it just says, cool, tell me your email and tell me what password you like. And that's it. Like there's no step two, there's no verifying your email address or anything like that, which is fine if only trusted people are doing it. But right, like if you want to run this for like a small community, it's not great because you run the risk of a bunch of spam accounts or even maybe people signing up in with the wrong
Bad
email
intent.
address.
Or
Bad
yeah,
intent, but even good intent, and they just misspell their email.
yeah.
So that's kind of weird, but I can see why they did it. I think they do it this way because they just basically wanted to avoid the situation of like, how do we send email and make sure it doesn't get into people's spam boxes and stuff like that. So there are a bunch of login methods. So email local accounts is the default one. Like I said, you could temporarily allow registration and turn it off later. You can set up actually other types of logins. So you can say, oh, we're going to allow GitHub logins and Facebook logins. And it does have some instructions it links to, because you do, for all of those single sign-on type things, you have to set things up on the GitHub side, for instance. But you could also do things like SAML, which is like a real single sign-on protocol. And so then you could say, oh, everyone at my school can log in, but only people at my school can log in, which is, I think, what I would do if I was setting this up for a community at a college. So that's really cool that it has that kind of built in and it has all of these options. There's no like plugin, it's just part of Hedgedoc. So, but let's say you're using it like we are, and we just want a few people to use it. I want to invite people. The way this would work is we just go into the terminal and we can use the manage users command for Hedgedoc. And if I just type it, it's going to say, hey, you didn't tell me to do anything. But that's cool because it actually gives some nice information. So we can add an account, we can delete an account, we can reset the password on an account that already exists. And then this final one's mostly just used for like scripting, but it lets you type the password into the command. So you can have like one command that would reset a password. We don't really need that. I'll show why. So let's say I wanted to give Amanda an account and Pilot an account in our Hedgedoc here. So let's go manage users, add, and then Amanda add reclaim hosting. And then I can set a password. So I actually have to set this, and then I would give Amanda the password. And I'm going to do the same thing for Pilot here, and then we'll test it. So this Hedgedoc instance isn't going to live very long, not past this stream, so I'm okay with saying it on stream, but we use the password reclaim for life, ultra secure. Can you both try logging in there and see how that works for you?
Sure.
The URL is in the Discord. I'm going to put it there in a second.
I'm in.
Sweet. And I'm going to make this note here. I'm going to change the privacy of it so that only signed in people can edit it.
I am in as well.
So I'm going to put this note in. I guess I'll put it in Discord too. I'll change the permission of it later. But can you all edit the note?
So you could DM it to us on Slack.
That's okay. I'm okay if people see it because I can make it public for a little while anyway after too. So here we go. This is the real cool feature of Hedgedoc is actual simultaneous markdown editing. And I can go in here and you get all the classic problems of people putting returns over each other and everything.
Why am I having trouble finding the note?
I think you need to go to the link.
Okay, so it's not listed in the history.
It won't be because you haven't visited it and you're not the owner. So in the Discord, I linked it.
Yes. Okie dokie. I'm there.
Yeah, the history is just per user, basically. So, yeah, I mean, loads.
It doesn't support that one.
Oh, emoji? Yeah.
No, Mastodon and Twitter support that emoji.
Oh.
Hi, Amanda.
Can't keep up, you guys, and your quips and your ideas.
So yeah, that's Hedgedoc, and we can, simultaneously collaborate on this note. I can also now set this to be more, I could set the note to be more public. So we showed before in that features page all of the permissions levels, right? Well, from here we can also I can lock it down, or right now I have it at limited. So you have to have an account in Hedgedoc, our Hedgedoc, to be able to edit this. And you have to, of course, know the link. But I can also set this to editable, which is one of the ones I use most often. And what this does is only people who logged in can edit, but anyone can view it. So if that link now is actually public, and if you are looking at it and don't have a Hedgedoc account, you can still look at it in real time, which is, I think, probably one of the coolest things about Hedgedoc, especially because what it's doing is, you've got this note, right, like Google Docs style, but it's on a domain you control. And if you want to, you can even give it a really nice URL, right? So I think it walks this line of being a document, but actually being a little bit more web native than Google Docs is, which I know is a weird thing to say. Google Docs is a website, right? But like, it's not, it doesn't speak the web in terms of URLs, right? Like Google Docs URLs, you don't have control over, right? So if you, I've been in this situation many times where I make like a QR code, put it on a poster that goes to some Google Doc that I need people to be able to find, and then turns out that Google Doc got deleted for some reason, and now my QR codes are no good. A lot of different ways to solve that problem, a lot of mistakes I made in that particular anecdote. But if I did this in Hedgedoc, I have a lot more control over what those URLs are like. So yeah, I'm just a big fan of the tool. And I need to use it more. We've been using it at Reclaim a little bit, but I think it would be cool to see, like, to use it even more for especially stuff that was going to turn into public facing stuff, I think. Because the nice thing about this is once you write it in Markdown, it's so easy to port it into other tools, especially with this, because you get this nice preview. So if you wanted to take this and throw this into a Google Doc or even WordPress, you can just obviously copy it. But if you're throwing it into another tool that doesn't support the formatting as well, taking the Markdown and pasting it as plain text somewhere is also way nicer than having to manually format everything after the fact. So yeah, I think that kind of covers it. That's start to finish Hedgedoc. I have to
That's
fix
cool.
that file upload bug, but I'm pretty sure that that's just a individual. I think I already know how to fix it, so I'll have that fixed pretty soon after the stream.
I think that went pretty smooth then, I'd say, if that's the only thing.
Sweet.
Cool. Well, Amanda Pilot, thank you for joining me, and we'll see everybody at the Open Publishing Ecosystems Flex course, where we will start with Hedgedoc and talk a little bit more about like using it and some of the possibilities. We did talk about that a little bit in this stream, but it's going to be more dedicated to the idea of writing and publishing in the open, and where Hedgedoc could fit in that equation or situation. So.
And real quick, we gotta get that plug for where and when the Hedgedoc session is happening.
Yeah. Okay. So you can go. Yeah, you can go to our events calendar and RSVP. The first session, which is the Hedgedoc session, is happening on Tuesday, November 28th. Should be right. It's right there at 12 p.m. Eastern. So that's when you'll be able to see the premiere and just hop into Discord, into the Flex Course channel, and chat with us while it's going on. We'll be there to talk.
Yeah, I'm really excited. As the description says, this one's kind of a long time coming. We've been excited as a team for this for a little while to dig into some of these alternative tools, and hope to see a lot of people there. So
see you there.
See ya.